Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Ibrahim Tanner TV. Today we'll be talking about Goldman Sachs investment in DEI program. Something interesting came across my desk, and I just wanted to share it with you guys. There was this article that came out on Fortune, and the name of the article was Goldman Sachs quietly shuts down diversity investment program launch with GS after meeting 1 billion pledge to fund companies led by women and people of color. And this is one of those pledges and investments that Goldman Sachs came about really getting ramped up after the George Floyd protest. I believe it started before that because of a lot of the protests that was going on, but it was really the George Floyd protests nationally and internationally that had a bunch of these companies like the NBA, like the NFL, right? Companies that would normally try to ignore this plight of the American freedmen community, specifically the police brutality and different forms of racism that inflicts the American freedman male. And what they're saying is that, you know, this was the time to end white supremacy racism. And they said they were going to, since black companies was underfunded by venture capitalists, this is one way that financial institutions was going to be able to, you know, dig in and prop up. In Indianapolis, we had Eli Lilly donate 100. Well, Eli Lilly Foundation donate 100 million. I think it was a grant. It was supposed to be to the Black indie community, but the head of the Urban League came and got it and took it to DC, and we haven't seen a dollar of that. And I think when you look at this Goldman Sachs case, when you really dig into it, this is just more of the same. So I'll start with this article. Goldman Sachs quietly shuts down diversity investment program launch GS after meeting 1 billion pledge to fund companies led by women and people of color. And this whole thing is interesting, but let me just start, and I'm gonna stop at sometimes just to point out kind of the contradictories in what Goldman Sachs is trying to do and where this country is headed. So, starting in 2018, Goldman Sachs announced a strategy called Launch with GS that eventually committed to investing 1 billion of firm and client capital into companies led, founded, and owned by women and people of color. So they exclusively say women, but then also people of color. Now, one of the world's largest investment banks has shuttered the initiative, claiming it has fulfilled its goals and now focusing its diversity efforts elsewhere. So the 1 billion pledge was a major statement for a bank that had taken a stand amongst its Wall Street peers on issues of diversity. In the same time period, the bank also announced it wouldn't help companies to go public without at least one diverse director on the boards. In both cases, Goldman cited a financial case for the decision. Companies with at least one diverse board member perform better after listing, CEO David Solomon said. The goal of the launch with GS was to generate strong investment returns. Then Chief Strategy Officer Stephanie Cohen wrote in a 2018 blog announcing the program. So what they're saying is that, the bottom line is still the bottom line, and they're trying to increase revenue for these companies that they're investing in. And one way to increase, productivity and investment and capital holdings and everything is that these companies have to have at least one diverse person on the board. The, it's their theory that when companies have at least one member of a diverse background on the board, the companies perform better. Now, I haven't seen any data on this, but that's not hard to believe. Goldman Sachs said it crossed a big milestone in June of 2023, meeting its commitments to invest 1 billion in diverse-led companies. Yet there was no flashy announcement trumpeting the achievement. Goldman's launch with GS website was quietly updated in recent weeks to describe the initiative in past tense and says that the bank deployed 1 billion to meet its goal. So as far as the people of color and the women, it said, it met that 1 billion threshold investment that it initially launched out and said it was going to do. So now they're pivoting. And I'm going to go down in the article because it's going to tell you what they're pivoting to. The bank is pivoting its focus to its 1 million Black women initiative, a 10-year pledge made in 2021 to provide $10 billion in investment capital, including more categories and venture focus launched with GS. So I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to just go over to the Launch with GS website to kind of give you guys a picture of what this looks like on their website, because they say people of color, but I don't really see, when they say people of color, I think they just mean women of color. Now, here's the video about the first one with the $1 billion investment.
We really want to equalize the workplace, equalize society, so that everybody who wants to contribute more in the workplace can have that equal opportunity to do so.
I never knew what strategy was all about, but now, hey, check me out. Yeah.
10,000 women has proven 10,000 times over that women are the smartest investment we can make.
One of the best ways to drive growth globally is to close the gap in the female labor participation rate.
There's no topic that is more front of.
So you see, this is like the initial investment. They said people of color, but I believe they just meant women of color, right? Mm-hmm. Just white women and women of color. And now that they're saying they fulfilled that $1 billion initial investment, they're pivoting. And they're pivoting to Black women. That's what the that's what the Fortune article was talking about. Now we're just going to do a pivot. And when we do this next pivot, it's just going to be Black women that we give the money to. And I find that to be extremely interesting because, when you look at the data, all of this stuff comes from the police brutality and the racism that really impacts Black men the most. But even if you was just going to look at, this income chart, and it shows you that, when you look down in the bottom left corner, Black men and Black women make the same amount of money, right? This is median annual earnings. When you look at Asians, right, there's a gap in Asians, but they're both higher than Black men and Black women. There's a gap in white, but they're both higher than Black men and Black women. There's a gap in Hispanic, right? Hispanic women may be a little bit lower, but at the same token, many Hispanics just got to this country. We're looking at groups of people that are outperforming the backbone of this country, right? The people who actually built this country up, who have blood equity in this country. And what Goldman Sachs is saying, our initiative to kind of, combat racism and systemic oppression is to just give money to Black women. And it's like, do they even care about, ending systemic oppression? And how does this work in a political atmosphere where you see DEI programs being crushed every day? And the article goes on to talk about that, but it really doesn't lend a strategy to how they're going to get around it. And that's part of the problem. I truly believe this is something they're committing to only in theory. I don't even think they got 10 billion or 8 billion aside to even give to Black women. But anyway, it said the bank is pivoting its focus. It's 1 million Black women initiative, a 10-year pledge made in 2021 to provide 10 billion in investment capital, including more categories than venture focus launched with GS. So we got 100 million in philanthropic and aid to address the dual disproportionate gender and racial biases that Black women have faced for generations. It's funny because I just showed you the data. It's like what biases do they face that Black men don't face when their income the same and they both come from a group of people that's wealthless. Goldman says it has deployed $2.3 billion towards the investment goal so far and has 4 team members dedicated to the program. Now, as you go further down in the article, they're going to talk about the Supreme Court decision. And it says, following the Supreme Court's overturning of affirmative action, opponents of race-based funding and decision-making have started suing businesses that have publicly committed to such initiatives. Lawsuits have hit the venture capitalist firm Fearless Fund, that's Harriana Simone's business, the startup Hello Alice, and law firm. And it just briefly goes over that, and then it just jumps down and say across the industry, a challenging market, and it gets to how, venture like seed money is down, but it doesn't say how they're going to get around, what Edward Bloom and certain conservative groups are doing to end, race-based program, just like this. And it's like you start off with people of color, but people of color, as you see, is really just women of color. And now you're going to pivot from people of color to just women. In the political atmosphere where none of these promises and monies is getting doled out. So it's like, how do you make this work? I think this is just all smoke and mirrors, right? I think what you see here is Goldman Sachs is saying, like, in theory, we can commit X amount of money to Black women. And in practice, we don't have to pay any of this money out because we know once we say it, Edward Bloom and those conservatives is going to come. They're going to come and they're going to squash all of this. They're going to come and they're going to squash all of this stuff. So I'm like, they have to like really explain to me how they're going to get this money to the women that they say. And even if they were able to get this money, I don't see how that would like impact racism or impact our community or the disparities in our community. Let me stop sharing this one and just go to this next. This is the back to the GS website, right? Take it off of this. And this is going to show you about, so this is their diversity and inclusion. And this is making progress towards racial equity. When you go in here, it talks about the program that I just read about, the investment with Black women. All right. At Goldman Sachs, we believe in the power of Black voices and in committing capital towards creating change. When those come together is where we can make progress towards racial equity. So I guess their objective is to make progress towards racial equity by somehow excluding Black women from the community and just investing in them. And that would be okay if Black women was head of households and they was ready to, take on the role that traditionally men of households take on, right? And take care of the families. But I'm gonna break down the data that shows that's not happening. Mm-hmm. So it says challenging the power of capital. 1 million Black women. Our new investment initiative will commit $10 billion in direct investment capital and $100 million in philanthropic support to advance economic progress for at least 1 million Black women in the U.S. by working with partners and listening to the input of Black women. This goes under that theory that, what's ever wrong in America, as long as if you replace a man with a woman, then she'll come in and she'll fix that entire system. As you see, this whole thing, like, it's all geared towards Black women. It's all geared towards Black women. So initially when I read this, I'm like, good, Black women do need investments, right? Black women are underinvested. So is Black men. If you can get money into Black women's pockets, that would be a good thing. But, one thing about it is that, like, what Black women are we talking about, right? This is one of the only data sets that disaggregates African Black from U.S. Black, right? And when you look at liquid assets, when you look at median value, this is in the state of this is in California, the city of LA. And what you find is that African blacks median value of liquid assets is $60,000, while U.S. blacks is 200. So here go black women here. So wouldn't it make sense to not do all blacks, right, and just focus on the American freedmen that's been like anchored down because of the badges and incidents of slavery and everything this government had to do to them? Because of I don't see this coalition of women of color, right? And then I have to be honest with you, right? Another reason I'm against it is not just because this idea of flat blackness, but this idea of like, if you pour money into black women, somehow that's going to uplift the black community and be good for racial equity. And why am I saying this? We know in our community, only about somewhere between 1 out of 4 or 2 out of 5 black women get married. Even with them getting married, if you look at this, what you see is that you have the first bar is white women, the second bar is black women, the third bar is Hispanic women, and the fourth bar is other. And what this chart shows is marriage rates and divorce rates. And what you find in our community is that, see, just from a glance, it looks like everything is about even. But I've circled black women divorce rates. Their marriage rates, I circled their marriage rate. Their marriage rates is comparable to everybody else's divorce rates. So they actually get divorced at a higher rate than every other group, but married at a lesser rate, right? So it's introverted, it's upside down, and it's on his head. And we understand, why that is, right? I'm not blaming black women for, not having black men to be able to marry, right? Not exclusively, not without, putting blame where blame needs to be. In this graph right here, it shows the war on drugs, right? And what you get from the war on drugs is a drastic decline in marriage, right? But understanding all of this shows you that, now more than ever, we need black families, right? Wealth isn't just in individuals. Wealth is in families, right? This is a wealth is a family component. So when you give money just to one person, right, one gender that's supposed to be a part of a family unit, I would think it would be apropos for that person to uplift everybody else in the family. I think what we've seen, through history is these programs that generally would uplift community. And I'm talking about, specifically welfare, how welfare went to white communities, but it went to the white family. And then 30, 35 years later, when it comes to our community, it goes to black women. And in order for them to qualify for welfare, the man had to be out the house. And I think this is just more of the same. It's nefarious in nature that you take somebody who's traditionally not the head of the household and you make them the head of the household, knowing that they come from a group that has the lowest marriage rate in the country and the highest divorce rate. So it's kind of divide and conquer. But and correct me if I'm wrong on this end, but this is just my opinion, that if Edward Bloom and the conservatives is tearing down everything that has to do with DEI, right, and race-based programs, right, and now Goldman Sachs is coming out saying they're going to invest $8 to $10 billion in black women, knowing that there's groups on the conservative side that has been challenging these types of programs in court and getting them immediately halted and then overturned. Do you think this is just a play to get black women to get behind the Democratic Party? Because now Goldman Sachs only has to verbally commit this money to black women, but they don't actually have to dole it out, knowing that Edward Bloom and his group is going to tear this down in court, right? Because it's unconstitutional. But they also have a boogeyman to point to and say, hey, we tried to give black women this money, right? We was behind them, knowing that black women is the backbone of the Democratic Party, but it was those conservatives over there that stopped us, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think this gasses black women up to take charge of the Democratic Party and try to get Biden back in for a second term? That's the only logic I can come up with announcing this publicly.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got to think about it. I don't necessarily know that they can say that this is specifically attributed to the Democratic Party, though. I know that the Democratic Party has traditionally been in support of women. Goldman Sachs, I guess could say is following suit in that line in that vein, but they sure would probably want to use that. The Democratic Party themselves want to use that as a campaign um, stick, you know what I'm saying, or carrot rather, to get women. But the thing is, women are already on that plantation, though. They're already voting. Black women in particular are already voting heavily for the Democratic Party. But I think that if there is something, some kind of avenue that they're trying to go, it would be to kind of show bad faith on the side of the conservatives, which I guess Bloom is one.
Yeah, I just don't see why now that you would come out with this program knowing that it's already been deemed unconstitutional, knowing that the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court, has already heard this case, and they said no. And they even gave three examples, right? You have Fearless Fund, you have Hello Alice, and they gave another one that they're shutting all of these programs down. And
Mm-hmm.
here you come, and I just believe it's just smoke and mirrors. Like that. That's the only thing that, like, from what I could understand, would be logical to me, is that you're just trying to rally black women around the Democratic Party and like give them an enemy to point to and say, no, it's those conservatives over there that stopped you from receiving this $8 to $10 billion. The other thing about it is, like, when and I'm challenging the sisters in our community, like, when do you stand up and understand that the existence of BLM come from black male cadavers, right? Black men who have always been on the wrong side of what this country had to offer, and have exterminated us. Throughout history, we've been on the front line, and then you get these programs and these opportunities that go to black women, and it's like, what's the responsibility? Once these programs come to you, do you just take it and run off and start your own political party? Do you just all like talk within your own silos? I mean, when you think about what Black Lives Matter, what the women of Black Lives Matter did, right? They just took, hundreds of millions of dollars and bought mansions and white enclaves, right? And said, we need this to strategize. And it's like, strategize for what? While ignoring the black women like Hamar Rice's mother, right? That was actually trying to build something in the community, so other kids don't end up like her son did, right? And when I see things like the Fearless Fund, Harry and Simone met with Kamala Harris, and she was talking about the fight that she has with Edward Bloom and certain conservative groups. And what's left out of all of these conversations is the black men who got, murdered in the street to really, start these programs and start these companies to even invest. And it's like, I feel this way.
Started it. That's essentially what kickstarted it, is the oppression and struggle of black males, particularly. But I think going back to what you were saying, the reasoning. I think part of the reasoning is, I think we have to look even further ahead, is that they want to run a female candidate, and I think that be the play that they're looking for, not just the Democratic Party, but trying to rally behind a female candidate as a Michelle Obama or a Kamala Harris.
And when I think about what happened to Joe Biden in South Carolina at AME Baptist Church, even though we know those were Palestinian supporters and those weren't American freedmen, community members who were shouting down Biden, but we do know those who came to Biden's defense was black women. And you see this division amongst political lines. I always, think back to when Ice Cube goes on to, I think it's called Cocktails with Queens, Fox show, and he said, here's the contract for Black America, and those women, Vivica A. Fox and the other women on that platform said, Black America doesn't include Black women. We need something specifically for us. So it's as if, the Democratic Party and certain financial institutions understand the divide that's going on in our community, and they're playing divide and conquer with this money. And it's funny because, like I said, this dates back to the 60s, but when you look at our wealth positionality, it hasn't changed. So like all of these small initiatives hasn't been enough. The only thing that I believe is it created was just more boss chicks mentality, right? More women who then go up and say, I'm self-made. I got it out the mud, right? And if a man wants to be able to like marry me or even, be considered somebody I would allow to court me, he has to be my equal. And it's like, how can he be your equal when he don't have the support of the government or financial institutions like Goldman Sachs behind him, right? I mean, traditionally, if you get these jobs, and I call like certain jobs are lottery jobs, right? When you can make like 4, 5, 6, 7 times that the normal, not only American freedman family makes, but a family makes in America. And you get these jobs, like one example I can think of is the Breakfast Club, right? You got 3 people with 3, high income jobs, Angela Yee, DJ Envy, and Charlemagne, right? When you use them as an example, and I think this goes for a lot of people, DJ Envy, right? He uses his job, he's married, he takes care of his family with his job. Charlemagne, right? Married, takes care of his family with his job. Angela Yee, and I know she's like a mix between Black and I think she has some Asian in her, but like single and looking for a man who also has the things that she had. And it's like, wait, what's the use of having this high income job if you're not going to do what men with these high income jobs traditionally do? And that's take care of family, right? If not, why just give that job to another man so it won't just benefit one person, it can benefit a family, right? You see this with Oprah, you see this with a lot of these ladies. Like, I don't understand why women in our community are fighting for this if they're not ready to, like, I'm not saying you have to be the head of the household, but there's this idea of hypergamy in the white community, and I just think it's nonsense, right? Because when you watch, there's a show on Apple TV called We Crash, right? And what it is it talks about WeWork. And one of the things about it is that when the guy who started WeWork with his partner needed money, he went to his wife, and he used the investment that his wife got from her dad for their marriage to reinvest in their company. There's another show called at the end of the staircase or something like that. What up, Dre? At the end of the staircase, and in this show, at the bottom of the staircase, I believe on HBO, she was a corporate attorney. He was like an English professor at a small college or something, right? But it just goes to show, like, we think of hypergamy as like something that's exclusive in other communities. It's like, no, it's just families that marry other families with money. It's not really an individual component, right? It's just families with wealth that marry other families with wealth. So it says 10 billion Black women only, but not the men. Men build societies. Women are supposed to be nurturers. This 10 billion would destroy the Black family. This is why Black men are leaving the United States. I think this does lend to why Black people are not getting married at the rates that they were getting married. I think this also, when you think of like some of the rhetoric that comes out of somebody like Ebony K. Williams' mouth, right? It's like, me and these Black women, and don't get me wrong, most of this stuff is just fluff and pie in the sky, and these people don't exist. But the narrative is that, after we get this help to help, like run them into debt as well. That's why the wealth position doesn't go up. But you are able to live materially a higher quality of life than a lot of the men, right? And you believe because you have access to certain things that Black men don't have access to, that somehow you are better than them, not really understanding the full context. The reason why you even get these programs from Goldman Sachs is because Black men were murdered, right? American freedmen men were murdered to initiate these protests and riots that led to companies saying we're going to invest in Black women. So I just think it's all nefarious. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. And I like right now, that's the only like plausible reason I can believe why somebody like Goldman Sachs will come out. Like, they have to understand what's going on, right? So I think it's easier for them to like pull the heartstrings of Black women by pledging some money to them that they know is never going to get to them, but that also gets them to like galvanize and get.
Ibrahim, when they're merging Black and they're merging colored people, right? I think part of what it is that Black women, they're using Black women as a mascot to which Black women are all too willing to be. The politics of visibility. They, in a lot of cases, see instead of tangibles, will kind of just be satisfied with a visibility in some cases, in lieu of tangible necessary things. So I think part of what's going on is that they're trying to merge and say, you know what, Black women, and let's say these new immigrants who are coming on Black women and new immigrants and all these other people of color, they're one and the same. So I think part of what they're doing is using the Black woman as a way to kind of meld all these different groups together and say, see, you know what I'm saying? If they're going to attack Black women, right, that means they're going to be coming for you too, as well. So I think that's part of what their strategy is.
It's like the 100th anniversary of the suffrage movement. We're just doing like we're making it more diverse now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just wanted to come to y'all briefly and just kind of explain this because, like, this makes no sense. I think it's more divide and conquer, and I think there's you can see it along the political lines as well, right? So appreciate everybody being here. I was just kind of a little bit under the weather, but I wanted to like give you guys my analysis on this and why somebody would start a race-based program, even being a race-based gender program, in the middle of a political storm where the conservatives are like roughshod through programs like this. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section.
Hey, you know what? Before off, I know Dre wanted to say something. He's in finance.
Oh, yeah. My.
Yeah, I just wanted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you asked Ian, and I was thinking about what Ian said, and I don't think that the Democratic Party is doing it to get them. They, like Ian said, they know that they toe that rope already. But what I will say is that knowing that if you don't think that the Democratic Party is already knowledgeable of a lot of the freedmen or Black male vote going Republican this go around, because men by nature can logically say, I made more under this regime than that regime, right? I achieved more under this regime than that regime, right? And so now when you look at the last 4 years under Biden, you've seen that we have literally been casted. I think one of the things that I think in our age group that we can say is that other administrations, you knew it was murky, like you could feel it. But under the Biden administration, it was in your face, like, yo, you don't matter. We got the vote. We said this, that, and the third, but hold on one second while we give everyone else set aside money. And I think what you see is that what they are doing is preparing for, like you said, the war within us between the men and the women, because like you said, if I got my own, think about it, you got to be equally yoked. Don't forget that during the pandemic, one of the things that they threw in every freedman man face is what? During the pandemic, the most new businesses, sole proprietorship started was Black women, right? Why would they throw that in your face? When you're on your ass. You don't have no money. So now I can't get a job, right? So now I got to look at my counterpart and say, well, she's the one starting it. They're not. Now think about this. You will see that metric anywhere. You'll hear a Boyce Watkins say it. You'll see it on Facebook. You'll see it on Instagram. You'll see it anywhere, but you won't see that the most unemployed and underemployed in America are freedmen men, right? You would have to literally go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, maybe certain finance publications, right, to actually see that fact. But all while you're home by yourself, you got to read Black women are the most educated sector of America, and they're starting the most businesses, right? And so you're not really understanding why are we having this rift. So I think and I don't think, like Ian said, I really don't think that it's we're going to run a female candidate. I think Kamala was so horrible. I don't even see how could they even sell that right now, right? But what I will say is they're preparing for, like you said, when you saw what they said to Ice Cube about, well, you said this is a contract for Black America. We don't see nothing about us, right? They're preparing for that conversation, right? So give them more money or give them the auspice of getting more money while you guys go and play outside because we're the ones handling real business. And I think that's what they're doing. Is like, we got your back. While your men go out and vote for these fools, we got your back. You understand? And I think that's what they're doing. And they're creating a bigger divide now. Because it's not like they're saying, we're going to give $10 billion for Black homes, $10 billion for sole proprietorship businesses that are underfinanced. No, we're going to give it to we're going to give it to Black women. Merry Christmas, right? And I think that's what they're trying to say.
Well, you know what? What about the fact that? Hold on, let me think. What about the fact that Black women are in some total as the Black community itself? Part of the strategy would be, if you have pledged this amount of money to Black women, you could kind of fudge the numbers and say, you know what? The Black community is doing okay and will do okay. Look, put Biden back in office, this money will be guaranteed to go forward and go through. You guys will be safe because Black women, sonum bonum, they are the sum total of the Black community. As long as they're okay, okay.
I mean, I think I kind of said that though, right? Because they're basically saying, give the money to the women and y'all go outside and play. Like, these women are the ones handling business, right? They're the ones moving forward. So I think that's the I don't want to say, if there was an agenda, that's the agenda. It's like, are y'all even worth it? Right? Like, we don't even, basically look at it like this. We don't even trust Black men with the money. How about that?
Well, there was, I put on Twitter, there was this chick saying, Black men, the chick saying, if we get reparations, Black men are going to basically, throw away all the money if it's put in our hands. So I think, that is part of the sentiment. I mean, Black women have aligned themselves not politically, but also economically too, as well. Even without these incentives, Black have aligned themselves. I remember that a couple years ago, Black women are doing their own economic conferences now. You know what I'm saying? And so, and there's no talk of Black men being at all a part of it.
It's really sad. So what you're saying is that, I mean, the polls are all saying the same thing, right? If you get Trump versus Biden, Trump is going to wash him. And there's going to be an uptick in American freedmen men who vote for Trump this election. I think there'll be an uptick in many different groups, but they're going to single out Black men and say, see, this is why Black women need to go ahead on their own and not, be amongst them Black men anyway. My thing is that it's extremely nefarious for somebody like Goldman Sachs to come out with this program saying, like, this is about racial equity, but you're excluding the one group, right, who who comes from the institution of slavery, right, and still suffers from the badges and the incidents of slavery, has the highest homeless rate, has the highest unemployment rate, has the highest incarceration rate, has the highest life expectancy. But somehow you're going to be able to like shore up racial equity by just dealing with, you know, black women, and not even American freedmen women, right? Just black women in general, right? So you'll get the, you know, get the next Kamala Harris in this group. You'll get the next Janine Pierre in this group, right? It doesn't matter. Like, it's just black women. And it's, to me, these programs is an erasure of black men. We've seen this since the 1960s, right? And what it does is just erase black men. And like you said, like, black men, y'all just go out to the streets and play. We're gonna let the black women handle this. Like black women are the backbone, not of the, because they already say they the backbone of the Democratic Party. Now it's like, you know, no. Actually, black women are the backbone of the black community, right? And everybody else is just kids, right? Everybody else is just kids. So yeah, y'all go outside and play and just get out the way. And we're gonna invest in black women, because as long as black women not are materially doing well, but feel like have aspire to like think they can be doing well. Because when you look at the data doesn't even say this, right? Like, with all of this help, you're still down here with us. It's a chart that shows, you know, black women make 100,000 just as much as black men. This is a hard chart to read, but it's down. If you look at the top, it's in the left corner. There's more black male entrepreneurs that make $100,000 than black women entrepreneurs. And when and like, this is horrible when given all of the assistance that black women think they have been receiving over the years, knowing that they are, you know, enrolled into college more, and they have more programs like this that are looking out for them. But what it actually goes to show, this is just a different form of benign and neglect, right? It just comes with a little bit of pampering, a little bit of like spiritual and emotional uplift. But when you really look at the material investment, it's not there. It's not there. So like, I have to agree with you, Dre, on that. You know, they're catering to black women without really, you know, setting aside the program and the resources needed to do community uplift.
Yeah, what they are doing, right, is they understand. Listen, I'm gonna just be honest. I'm not speaking for Abraham, anyone who's watching this. I'll just tell you the truth. They understand that there's a certain amount of vanity when it comes to our community on that side of the game. So, for example, I keep talking about this, but it's ringing in my head, right? What Angela Rye said on The Breakfast Club when her and Andrew Gillum was promoting their podcast. And what she said, it really made me understand something, that we are in trouble. Ibrahim, as much as you read and as much as you study political pundits, can you tell me one profound thing Angela Rye has ever said politically on behalf, we're not even going to use the word freedmen, on behalf of black people, right? Tell me one thing that made you say, wow, you're right, Angela. Thank you, right? I guarantee you can't tell me one thing. So when Charlemagne asked her and Andrew Gillum, well, what about the people that say, well, who questions your merit, like who basically say like, well, what have you really done? And Andrew, you know, you with your scandal. And for her to say on the national airwaves that we play the part, meaning people who's questioning her as the oppressor. Do you understand how, like, I don't think people really like caught that. How we, us, that was, listen.
Like a page in Netanyahu's book.
I always say this. I always say, if you understand anything about mega pastors, right? When you're a mega pastor long enough, eventually your character becomes who you are. Eventually the art becomes the life is imitating, right? This is why some mega pastors can't escape who they really are, right? I.e. Joel Osteen when there was flooding and he's like, I can't open up the church. I just got brand new carpet. right? I.e., Creflo Dollar telling the average parishioner of his church who makes $30,000 a year that God wants him to have a $65 billion jet, right? What happens is you become the character. And I think her boule has taken over her to tell you, if you even question her, you're working on the side of the oppressor, as if this woman didn't spoon feed you a woman, a Brahmin, who's opened up the floodgates to the United States while you have to pay your student loans, while you have to provide for your family. But no, we question that. We're the oppressor.
And you know,
understand the wickedness
and
in that statement.
And you know, Dre, I wanted to piggyback off of that because you have what is the representative Jasmine Crockett. Now she's coming out making some statements about the border, basically trying to support the idea of this mass immigration or illegal immigration. So essentially, coupled with what you're saying, if we as Black men or other people come out, against immigration, which is what the Democratic Party wants, the Black women themselves can be used as a tool to demonize those, right, and to silence those who have voices against this illegal immigration. They will be the ones who will be able to be the biggest, I guess, the punisher of those who go against this immigration policy that's taking place. That essentially is continuing to gut out what we have left of our Black communities.
Right. I listen. So Ian, let me show you something, right? And Ibrahim, like, think about this, right? During that interview, Charlemagne says to Andrew Gillum, he said, out of Angela and Colors or Cross, he says, which one of y'all didn't think y'all was ever going to work with each other on the podcast? And Andrew Gillum, and I quote, says, Angela, she's crazy alpha. Right? And so think about that. So it's like we got these elitists being us. And is there any coincidence that Angela Rye, who's boule, like I hate to use the term, but who's an elitist boule, light skin, big head. You think about it. You know her more for dating celebrities than actually political work, right? And talking down to Black people.
The accountability isn't there. Did you see, like, she was trending because of her with the bikini suit on and what?
Right.
And she becomes a victim of that.
Right.
But that shows you, like, there's no accountability there. And that's
right.
what this Goldman Sachs thing is leading up to, right? This idea that, women are made of sugar and spice and everything nice. And if you put a woman in a position that was historically had a man in that position, that they can do no wrong. And that's basically what Angela Rye is saying on the Breakfast Club, right? That I am morally above, like,
right,
our community, right? Not just me, but like me in a representation of women, where you can't even challenge me, right? You can't even challenge my values or who I have allegiance to, right? I'm morally above you. Like I'm basically a prophet, right, to this community, right? Whatever I say is right, and whatever I say goes.
Right. And now let me put the icing on the cake for why I told you what he said and what she said when they asked him that question about, would you ever seen yourself working for him, right? Working together with this podcast. Let's not forget Andrew Gillum run for governorship of Florida, for Florida, right? It was a hairline finish, right? Super close vote. Do you know more Black women voted for DeSantis?
Yes.
So I'm sitting next to a woman who's telling me we work for the oppressor. Lord, you question my light-skinned Gucci hat wearing self? You question me? You work for the oppressor, all while you voted. Your class, Angela, voted for DeSantis.
Yes.
Do you understand how dangerous that is? And then we got to have a podcast called My Native Land. And we got to hear Andrew Gillum say, oh, you know, they set me up and I just wanted to dance and have fun. This is why we are in trouble, because they understand that a lot of us are not listening with a keen ear and a keen eye of discernment, right? I'm telling you, ever since she said that, sometimes it's us who work for the oppressor. Like, what have you, like, come on, man. And they understand that, the Democratic Party, and they understand that there will be, because Trump is going to wash Biden. Because like I've been telling everyone, being in New York City and being in New Jersey, I'm talking about mid-tier working class white folks who would be blue no matter who. Psh, listen, when they son can't get a job at ShopRite, why they drive their daddy's Maserati and live in their basement? All right. When they see people of all different hues, colors, and races come and get $3,000 a month and hanging out dirty laundry out of 4-star hotel windows, yeah, all right.
Yeah. There was an article. There was an article that came out in Denver where some white liberals was
yes.
We didn't know turning our city into a sanctuary city and allowing these illegals to come in was going to hurt our progeny. From like our kids are now not able to enroll in the universities.
Yes.
They are not able to get the jobs that they want to because they are competing with illegals. It's like, duh. So you thought they were just gonna move into the black communities, right? And knock us off, kill, and it was never going to impact you. But now they understand it, like, oh man, like there's only so many lawn care workers and maids and cooks that you can have before these people start, climbing up upward mobility and say, we need to get up there and start to get some of these other jobs, some of these more prevalent jobs. But yeah, I thought that was funny. It's
listen,
like,
if you remember, if I'm not mistaken, the governor said to Biden, he said, we don't have the houses, the schools, the jobs, nor the resources. What are you doing? I was reading that like last week. He was like, this is insane. Because like I said, at one point, they were just coming in Chicago, LA, New York. That was it. Chicago, LA, New York. And then all of a sudden, the Texas governor said, go to Denver. Go to
certain communities.
Right. And he said, go to Denver.
Building downtown Manhattan.
Yo, listen, I was telling Prime and Ian earlier today on Twitter, I had a friend visit me from Toronto last week, and that friend visited me at least 4 or 5 times a year. This time in Manhattan, she was like, yo, what is this? And then she said, because I'm always in Toronto as well. She said, Andre, I never see this on the news. I said, exactly, because it makes no sense. We left Madison Square Garden from watching the Knicks playing the Bulls, come up the escalator, go out of Madison Square Garden and see a Nicaraguan family under a white blanket with a translator. You can tell they just got off the bus with a translator just telling them, all right, stay here, be cool. And she's like, little girls? I'm like, listen, yo, go by Times Square and it looks like the Carter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Damn.
Wow.
Now you got Africans who are in here now coming across the border. They in Manhattan getting into fist fights on the street because let's say they had a bike order from Uber, like one of, you know what I'm saying? Like, whoever, I guess they take turns taking these orders on the app because they all standing next to each other. So they might say, all right, well, boom, because they all get notified at the same time as who answers it first. Yo, they getting into fights. Yo, it's crazy. Yo, it's absolutely crazy. And I'm telling you, me going to the gym, because before I could work out with like a white high school dropout. Father is like a Fortune 500. He drive a Maserati to the gym, live in his dad's basement, might work at like a deli. Man, them dudes are home. And these dudes is like, yo, what did we do? What if think about that? What did we do? And I always say, I don't care how liberal you are, white folks. I know for a fact, especially going to college, listen, liberalism ends once student loans begin. You could believe that. If you ain't filthy rich and Joe Biden is affecting your bottom line, you're conservative in the snap of a finger.
And I wanted to say too, the article came out saying that they're going to try to fight DEI using the 1866 civil rights law. That's meant for freedmen, and I think that's essentially, again, what they're trying to do. They're trying to meld the two plights of these illegal immigrants and as well black women. I think that's going to be part of what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to use this 1866 piece, you know what I'm saying, to essentially open up the floodgates for more of these illegals to come in, because they're going to utilize, again, the struggle of black women. Okay, if you care about the struggle of black women, right, then that means that you have to care about the struggle of the illegal aliens, so on and so forth. So part of what they're doing too, they're trying to sanitize this, this debauchery of illegal immigration too, as well, for the Democrats themselves. They're trying to make sure that the Democrats stay on the plantation by getting, because a lot of times if you can get black women to speak loud enough, they can kind of rally the troops. So essentially, that's what they want to do. So now they're going after affirmative action. They're going to use this 1866 civil rights law. Black women are going to throw everything behind that, and they're going to, as they do when they're intersectional behavior, they're going to enlist as many other groups to help them in this fight that they can.
I think that was the importance of Arian Simone, co-chair or chair of the Fearless Fund, meeting with Kamala Harris to go and get that support. It was just funny that, we know Kamala well enough to know Kamala is just going, she's going to give you that little awkward giggle and move on. She don't care nothing about your plight. And it's funny that, I always look at it as, the Fearless Fund, they invest in women of color. And when you go on their page and see who they invest in like different groups of Asian women. And like the ironic thing is, or the moronic thing is, that Edward Bloom actually used Asian groups to tear down race-based affirmative action, right? So in a sense, she's funding groups that then go and take that money and use those resources to make sure she don't get no more money. So this whole women's coalition is just asinine.
Oh my God.
It's not about women, it's about family.
It's about family, yes. Yeah. And they got families, you know what I'm saying? And that's, they'll come over there like this in a minute, you know what I'm saying? They got offspring popping out, you know what I'm saying? And they're going to be against us, trying to move us out of our position. But again, she's going to be just like the lady, like the Representative Jasmine. She's going to be kind of cheering for this. You know what I'm saying? All along, shooting her own self in the foot, shooting us in the foot, essentially, again, because the black woman has been made the mouthpiece, socially and politically, of the black community.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think the Democratic Party understands that most black freemen women don't understand politics. And I'm going to be honest with you. They do not respect their intellect. Because if you put up, let me show you something, Ian, right now, right? I mean, Ibrahim. If you put up a picture, go put up any picture of Vivek Ramaswamy. Go find a picture and put it up right now on your screen.
Let me grab one real quick.
Yeah, and I'm gonna prove a very valid point.
Images. here's one.
All right, put it up. Let's see.
Let me see if I can.
All right, you see that? All right, look at the one, even the one, yeah, right there, the one with the red backdrop, the maroon backdrop,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, make that larger.
How do I? Oh, that actually came from an article.
Oh, okay. Well, pick anyone. I like the red backdrop though, because it would definitely help prove my point. I see one where he's behind like a taupe. He's in front of a taupe type backdrop. That one would probably work as well.
Oh, so it didn't. Okay, it just did it on my screen.
Stop playing.
Say it again.
You know we don't know what taupe is, nigga. Stop playing with us.
You know, the off-white, whatever, opaque. Nah, that one's not a good one. Let's say, okay, in the top row, okay, you know what? People can see that picture, right? So me, Ibrahim, and Ian is talking to some chicks, right? And we tell them, yo, they got a party. These chicks are having a house party. Oh, we're going to bring our fourth black friend, right? We get to the party. Abraham walk in. Hey, y'all, we here. Abraham, what up, everybody? I say, hey, yo, this is our black friend. You know what I'm saying? I'm Vivek Ramaswamy, right? What are those women gonna say, Abraham?
You not black.
Okay, now put up a picture of Kamala Harris. Then, when you tell them they not black, the first thing you say is, her daddy Jamaican. But you know what's funny? Let me tell you what's funny about how life works. We'll see a picture of her wearing Marshall Timberlands from the third rack of the store. We'll see her do offbeat dancing to old hip hop. But you know what you never see? Her father. So you think
I've never, even in the article that he wrote, he just came out and denounced her, but they never show his face. And you're right about that. Like I've never seen his face. I've never seen his face.
That's my point. So you don't think they don't realize the lack of discernment? You let this woman ski weed and tell you, I'm not going to do nothing for black people. You know her Indian accent came out when she said that if you replay it. I didn't say I'm going to do nothing for black people. No black people. Right? But she's sister girl magic. She hates you to death. Shout out to Fife Dog. Right? But if we was to bring Vivek to the cookout, that ain't no, what are y'all doing hanging? He work at 7-Eleven. And this Brahmin doesn't? And that's my point. They understand the emotional value that our sisterhood has. Look at that.
It may just be the light, but he's a little, so
he's a little darker.
He's a little darker.
And like I said, so the Brahmin female can come because her father is allegedly Jamaican, and I'm not going with that. And so we'll never see a picture of that, but we'll see a picture of her ski wing, and you'll definitely see it.
Just like Angela Ross said in the interview on the Breakfast Club, that you can't even challenge her, right? When it came to us even asking questions about Kamala Harris' ethnic origins, that was seen as birtherism or something. You can't even challenge that. We can't even ask the question, right? Like, she is what she says she is, and let nobody else challenge that.
Well, that once the Divine Nine has thrown their support, you're basically going against the sum total of the Black Boule. There's a video I know they going around about the NAACP trying kicking out Marcel and others trying to get into the the MLK rally. You know what I'm saying? But essentially, the Boule, the Black Boule, the NAACP, essentially once they have rubber stamped something, you are an oppressor if you will go against the Black Boule, because they, again, the Black woman the black boule, they are essentially the quintessential black. You know, poor blacks, we're not black. You know what I'm saying? We degenerates. Uh, you know, we're misogynists or whatever. It's the boule and the women who determine what blackness is. You know, if you go against them, you will be seen as an oppressor, as was seen when they tried to talk about reparations at a Martin Luther King rally.
Hey, Ian, you know what's crazy? If we was to usher Vivek in front of these sisters and be like, vote for our brother. His daddy was black. No, he ain't. He ain't my brother. But we got to hear how Kamala is our sister. All while she's married to Yarmulkes. All while she's locked up your husband's boyfriend's baby daddies. All while I'm not gonna do nothing but black people. No. I'm not doing nothing. No. It's just, yo, I'm telling you, the Democratic Party understands the lack of political awareness that our women have. Point blank, period. Because at the end of the day, there is no Biden and Harris without the black female vote. Stamp that. Stamp it.
And it's funny because this comes from the same group of voters who say, you know, the only thing Obama has to do for them is love his black wife, right? But then when it comes to, you know, people from that they deem are inside their community, obviously they don't need that same race loyalty to, right? You could just do whatever you want to do, right? When you think about Alice Walker and her writing The Color Purple, and you know what's going on now with The Color Purple, it's like so they get invited to the cookout, right? And we can't even do a background check on them to see who they sleep with, right? To see where their politics is, to see if their politics even benefit our community, right? And what their upbringing was like, and to kind of like break that down and analyze that. But when it comes to us, you know, like that's something that's, you know, you better show up with one of us, right? Or else nothing else matters, right? And that's interesting because even in Andrew Gilliam case, right, even though he was caught doing the things that he was doing, he understood that politically, right, it just solidifies him to be married to what? A black woman, right? So it's more like they're like I'm not saying we're being led by a group of voters being black women in our community that basically are vote off emotion, but that's who like the Democratic Party are propelling to the top, right? And kind of forcing us to like foul in behind and allow them to lead us while we understand that white capital institutions is leading them to where they want to go, right? So at the end of the day, you know, they're just closer to the ventriloquist than black men if we continue to follow this lead, right? But if you listen to Goldman Sachs say, no, in order for us to bring about racial equity, we have to focus on investing in black women, right? Without black women ever saying, okay, but what's the return on investment for that? How is that good for my community? How is that even good for my material well-being, right? No, I'm just going to take the money and go and buy what I can buy with it, right? And that's the whole nefarious part about that. And it becomes even more nefarious when you understand that you're not even going to get this money. These people propose to give you the most money in a climate that they know Edward Bloom and his group is going to stop that, right? They might as well say, we're going to give you 10 trillion. What was that? They might as well say Kramer's number, because whatever number it is, it's never going to touch you guys' accounts. But it's going to galvanize you and get you ready to come out and storm for Biden, right? It you know, when this is funny, right? And I'm sorry to bring this up, but when Simone Sanders thought she was on the pathway to be
spokesperson, White House spokesperson,
the White House spokesperson, you see her tackle that person for Biden?
Yes, Tackle.
like
Yep.
just with like off of aspirations and promises, the things that Black women are doing. I'm like, this is sad, right? Like, we really need to restructure our political values and how we structure our group politically, right? Like, we understand the time that our community got the most gains is when what American Freedman man led, right? So this idea that you can just turn things upside down on its head and still be able to produce something positive and productive and get upward mobility for our group, we haven't seen that in the last 10, 20 years since everything has been turned upside down.
Well, you know, they say that the Black women are the ones who really secretly ran the Black Panthers. So I think that's
Listen, they understand that.
Bullets to prove it.
They understand that, and this is something I want y'all to think about. The Democratic Party understands that our culture is our culture, but our culture is not our reality. What do I mean by that? They will use cultural icons to sell us this crap, right? But our reality every day is not the culture that we celebrate, meaning no booty, no vote, right? So everybody else gets political set-asides and actual policy and platform in order to get your vote. Us, let me give them the culture of rap. No booty girl, no vote. Do you understand? Like, I want you to think about that, right? You ever see, think about this. If you live in LA, do you ever see ding, 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 vote, you know, for the Mexicans?
nah,
You know, for the Mexican vote? No.
So you telling me that's not I thought we were past Malcolm X's quote. So you telling me this right here didn't get people to the polls? Is that what you telling me?
Yeah, I'm telling you that they will, how can I say this? So they understand that our culture, even though it's ours, it doesn't. So it's like you always hear people say, LeBron James doesn't make you rich because he's rich, right? And so with us, we'll because we like rap, then I'm gonna give you a rap song instead of policy. Let me tell you something. I knew I wasn't voting for Biden. First of all, I wasn't gonna vote for Biden anyway. But one of the things I was trying to tell people 4 years ago, you should be insulted that he gave you something called Lift Every Voice, because it shows you what he's really doing. I know people talked about, at least think about this. What sounds more feasible if you have a logical political mind? Lift Every Voice or the Platinum Plan, right? Naturally, if you're looking at a business plan, I don't want to look at Lift Every Voice, right? So you're gonna take, it's almost like what you call did, Jay Morrison. I'm gonna call it the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, in order for you to be your heartstrings to say, man, we need another Tulsa. So now I need Black people to vote for me. So you know what I'm gonna do? The National Black Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. That is literally a open hand spit in your face after we say, you don't vote for me, you're not Black. And oh, by the way, Lift Every Voice. It is literally them telling you they don't respect your political intelligence. I'm just keeping it 100.
Nope.
That didn't make y'all want to go and vote for Biden?
Not at all. Not at all.
That didn't make y'all want to go and vote for Biden and Harris?
Not at all.
Meg doesn't have any political clout. She don't have no political acumen. She can't sway. She can't put that WAP to work.
Right, but you see the playbook, right? So with us, whatever the culture is, we sell their culture back to them under the guise of politics. Everybody, like, let me think. You ever think about if you were in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, correct, Ibrahim?
Yes.
Could you imagine you turning on your television in the game and then Joe Biden has polka dancers with accordion saying, we need the police coming? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are you talking about? Could you imagine you watching the halftime of the Indianapolis Colts and Joe Biden says, I love the polka community. I love get my accordion out. You're going to be like, what? How do you take that seriously? That's all I'm saying. They don't take us seriously. They don't.
They got a proven strategy that works in our community, and that's why Malcolm X spoke about it. Right? There's a proven strategy that works in our community. You throw these athletes and entertainers out there. I remember when Hillary was running against Trump in 2016, she had Jay-Z and Beyonce do that concert for up in Cleveland, and she thought she was going to ride there right into victory. And even when they fail, they come back and run the same play again because they're like, oh, it didn't work this time, but this is pretty much a win and play, right? This is pretty much a win and play. This lets you know this comes down from the top of the Democratic Party, right? That if we could like rustle black women away from black men, they already not married to them. They already don't really desire them like that, right? They just want the package. They don't want the person. They just want the wallet. They don't want the wisdom, right? If we can just rustle them away from them, right? We can get them to, and guess what? If we boost them up, right? Not a level, just a step. Then we know black men will anchor themselves onto them, and they probably gonna have to follow him. What did Roland Martin say when he went to Georgia? If he don't vote, kick him off the couch. Like, whoa, man, like this human doesn't have any value here, but to do what the Democratic Party wants him to do. And that's just like this is the political apparatus. This is the political strategy behind the gender wars that go online. See, people just think it's passport bros and high value this, right? But no, there's an actual, like, and Ian, you spoke to this in the space about a week or so ago. Like there's a political strategy behind what people see as entertainment. Now, this is way deeper than entertainment, right? This is the politics that operate how your lives is being controlled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gender war begins and ends at the fact that no other, like I've said, I said to one day I called Ian, I said, Ian, tell me another family the government infiltrated. Tell me another ethnicity the government said, we are going to break up this nuclear family no matter what. And you won't find one but ours. So it's like, I don't care what anyone say, they knew something we didn't know. They knew something because I don't, listen, whether you feed into the gender war or not, I don't believe we're ever coming back. I just don't, because if you give us reparations, I think men are going to be like squirrels. We're literally going to say, how do we invest this money? How do we build infrastructure? And how do we save it? Because we know how it feels not to have it, most of us. Mm-hmm. I think women, for the most part, and this is not respectability politics, because do whatever you want if you get it. I don't care if you make paper maches out of your money. But I think most part, you're going to see a lot of yes, girl, grown up girl, take some Kirkos, girl. I ain't giving the tropes about Gucci purses and Cadillacs. I think you're just going to see, yes, the glow up is real. It's going to be like, I'm one of those people that don't think it's going to bring the family together. I just think men are going to become squirrels. They're going to link up, click up, and say, how do we make most of these opportunity zones now that we got money to make opportunities out of them? I think you're going to see men become more, agriculture, any type of sector of business. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to actually have, we're going to run these actual industries, but we'll be a part of them. I think a lot of our women is going to be the glow up, the age of glow up. And it's going to be like, yo, like, I just think it's going to be, I think some mothers will put some money away for their children, be like, okay, this is this, that. But you see it, like the divide is real because it's like I had a woman ask me today. She said, "Why are all these women?" And she wasn't a Freeman woman, right? She said, "But why all these women are fighting over the same guy?" I said, "Because no one cares about the normal guy that no woman wants. It's just that simple." You asking me why they fighting over the same guy instead of asking me why aren't they actually looking for the guy that likes them?
Mm-hmm.
like, what are you talking about? And then she looked at me and she said, "You're right." I said, "Exactly. No one wants to eat at an empty restaurant." It was like, even has nothing to do with it, but this is how it must feel. When I went to FIT, which is predominantly women, I'll never get being in the elevator one day with 4 women who walked into the elevator and I was already there, and the one looked at them and said, "Ain't no men in this school." And I'm looking around like, 1, 2, it's 4 of you. There's 1. What? Right? And that's just how it is. We're isolated. We're in a bubble. And Ian said it. They are an autonomous sector. Like they kind of on their own.
Yeah.
Like you said, they don't want the wisdom and the guidance. It's like, yo, are we equally yoked?
But the problem is that they're already yoked from an intersectional perspective, socially and politically, with all these other groups. That's been part of, and they understand that it's a quid pro quo where they understand that their come up is inextricably linked to white women's come up and all these other groups come up. That's essentially what happened with the civil rights, with affirmative action. I remember I was in the room with Darity the other day, and the sister who had the room, she decided to go at me based on some of the proposals that I said could go into it to what was part of reparations, and she was like, "Oh, that sounds like affirmative action." And I said affirmative action. I said affirmative action is just a word, and second that it didn't benefit us. It benefited Black women. So why is it when I'm talking about room and space about reparations, you're bringing up affirmative actions, and then even going so far, you hope that we have some Black lawyers that try to reverse the DEI pronouncements, that dropped down from the Supreme Court. I'm talking about reparations. You have basically pivoted to how can we save DEI, but come on.
Hey Ibrahim, I got a question for you. I got a joke. Well, it's a riddle. What's the difference between a white feminist and a Black feminist?
Wealth.
The white feminist goes home to her rich husband.
Yeah, or the white feminist creates that rich husband, because
listen,
like Donald Trump was actually not, that money wasn't given to him, it was given to her sister, right? Because he knew
it was. He only got $3 million. The sister got like 20 something like that, $20-some million. The sister inherited.
She had to piecemeal him alone.
If you study the story, the father told the sister, Donald ain't the brightest thing, you gotta, that's why he left from $3 million. But the point I'm making is that when you go to college or when you be around a lot of these feminist white women, you notice they always have a doctor husband, or they got a dentist, or they got somebody that allows them to talk all this shit to you in front of you to act like they're making the rules, but they go home and make sure husband is taken care of, right? And so feminism for us is an auspice of what they really live. It's literally like feminism to Black women is like your favorite wrestler. He's only good while he's on TV. Because when they go home, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that Rachel Maddow shit is for the birds. I'm telling you. Like, y'all crazy for that. And that's why I don't get caught up into that concept no more, because it's like, yo, you don't even realize this woman's going home to Scottsdale, Arizona and play and make sure his golf clubs is in his truck before he leaves. Like, yeah, you let her tell you that while you're in your workplace. But trust me, she's going home to such and such Esquire. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
I had a post that says our women would rather lose a reparations fight with DEI equality, think pieces, and hair bills than halfway acknowledge Black male suffering or an equality of oppression. They'll say they suffered more, to which there's tremendous evidence to the contrary, or say we're privileged as black men, and that was based on a picture of Tamika Mallory, supposedly one of our most staunch civil rights activists, right? You know, where she says sexism is worse than racism. So essentially, they're not really on board socially and politically. You know what I'm saying? They're not. You know, they'll basically use their fight for reparations and so on and so forth, really just a way to further the ball down the field of the DEI shit that they're attached to. Because again, they know that they are owed the white woman, and I don't think they'll ever get off of that plantation with her.
You know, it's funny. One thing they never include when they're talking about, you know, women, they never disaggregate the data and bring into the fact the marriage rates, right? They'll just say like this group of women makes like 60 cents on the dollar to men, but that's not actually true. When you add in that dollar that they man make because they married, what you actually see is that, you know, one group makes like $1.70 while the only ones make 60 cents, right? And then when you break it all the way down and see, you know, because, you know, our marriage rates lack too as being American freedman male. It's just all disingenuous that we won't ever like get into the crux of the issue and really, you know, analyze our problems to see, you know, what solutions we really need, right? If we can, it's as if we're going to get some type of remedy through tokenism, and I think a lot of our people is good with that. Like, yeah, I'm cool with that, right? As long as one of us make it, we can live vicariously through them, and it feels like all of us made it. And that's not going to put food on the table, right? That's not going to do anything for us as far as community uplift. And it's just sad that, you know, you like the Charlemagne interview on I think it was CNN or MSNBC with Joanne Reed and Angela Rye, the Breakfast Club interview, the programs that black people are now getting temporarily employed, right? It's like a political gig economy, right? They're just amping up because they know it'll be a few months and Super Tuesday will be here, right? November is right around the corner. And these polls show like Trump is putting in work. And from what the MENA group is saying, right, the Middle Eastern North Africans is we're not voting for Biden because what happened in Gaza, right? Y'all supported Israel, so we won't be supporting you. So they like now more than ever, we're going to have to lean on this black voter base, right? And 90% of black people in America is American freedmen. And they're like, if we can, you know, lean on black women hard enough. And I know that's what the strategy was last election, that if we can lean on black women hard enough, black women can lean on black men. And I do feel more American freedmen men would have voted for Trump in the last elections if it wasn't for like this beratement and like airing out the dirty laundry of black men and just allowing black women to kind of just berate them publicly and bring them back to the Democratic train. I don't know what's going to happen this election, right? I'm hopeful that a lot of people will be represented on the other end of the political spectrum, but you know, I just don't know, right? I think that the Middle Eastern group will sit out this vote. I don't know what's going to happen to black people, but whatever happens, I think the narrative is already set. It's already set that they're going to blame black men for Biden.
Yeah, they're going to blame black men. But I want them to blame us if Biden loses. Please blame me. Please.
Well, so I'll add this caveat.
Hold on, real quick.
I don't want us to just get blamed. I want us to actually be a legit reason, right? I just don't.
I want them to blame us because I want them to see that we're not going to sit by the sideline and be someone's whipping dog and scapegoat so they can run around and do what they want, right? For example, last election, right? Trump. Like the reason why Biden like even had a shot in hell, right, is like you said, they leaned on us, right? But a lot of it was this whole like mystique that he actually said something. Do you know what I mean? Look, when people was getting money, a lot of people was like, forgot that, oh, he's not a racist. And then all of a sudden, right time the election was like, well, he's a racist. And you was like, what? And I'm like, do you remember what Biden said?
They were
right, exactly. And then it was like, this time it was like, you heard this whole like, that election, you heard this whole like this, like, for example, let's forget about that. Charlemagne said something once again that really, listen, if I was in front of, listen, he used to work out at my gym. I swear to God, he used to. And I used to, sometimes we talk. If he still worked out at my gym, as soon as I would have saw, I would have punched him dead in his mouth.
Whoa.
When he said, I regret endorsing Biden and Harris. And they said, why? He goes, well, Biden has always been a horrible and elected official. And then he said, Harris seems like she just disappeared. And I said, then they said, well, are you going to vote for Trump? No, because that'd be the end of democracy. Yo, you moron. Right. I'm like, you moron. Trump was already president. Your democracy is still here. So then this is why what he said was dangerous. If you go to his show on Comedy Central before it got canceled, when he said to Kamala 3 times, when are you going to be our black superhero? Do you understand how like treacherous to even give her that type of nomenclature, like this title? She's not black. And to say, when are you going to become a black superhero? Yo, man.
Even
come on, man.
When she refers to herself either as an Indian woman or a woman of color.
Exactly. And so when you look at that last election, it was very scattered, right? It was this, either you didn't want, like, you remember, anybody but Trump, right? And you had that going. Then you had a lot of the boomer class who liked Obama went to Biden. You know, that's how you use the Clyburn play, right? Mm-hmm. And so then you had the women with the no booty girl, no vote, right? And that goofy, weird stuff, right? And then you had us who was like, did we really suffer under Trump? And what did he really do? Right? Like, you start to kind of like analyze it, right? Like, did he, what? Oh, that's what I wanted to say before I forgot. Another thing, and I'm going to say it, it's the truth. And Ian, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But Yvette and that down Democratic ballot bullshit. Am I lying, Ian? Don't you think? I remember the day after Biden won, and Yvette had the show, and how many people called and said, I thought about what you said, Yvette, the down Democratic. And I said, and I did. And at first I went down Democrat. Then I thought, well, if I voted down Democrat, I might as well put Biden in.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It was just like, we were just scattered. But this time, black men, freeman men, trust me when I tell you.
Yo, I voted for Trump.
Listen, I did too.
They told us to, like, it was a way to disengage from the political process and hope that the person that you didn't want to get in the office didn't get in office, right? Instead of enforcing what little political power that you had. Now that I think about it, I'm like, that was the dumbest strategy, because I found myself, I normally do down ballot, right? Normally, way before Yvette said it. But this time I found myself, like, I think I like went to sleep and woke up like 3 times in the middle of the night checking the pollings, right? And I was hoping that Biden wouldn't get in the office, right? But after all of that happened and I gave it some thought, I'm like, there's actually a strategy to vote. No, voting against a person doesn't mean you actually support the person. And I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, you really like politically neutered yourself, right? Why would you not vote and hope that one person doesn't get in instead of voting for the person that you want to see beat this person, right? So they politically neutered the whole.
Yeah, and you know why they politically neutered them too? Because once again, Yvette knew this. Tone, but Yvette knew this. She knew most of these people are political neophytes, right? When most of these people first time voting was Obama, no matter their age, right? We talking about our block, right? So now you're in an important election and then you say vote down Democrat. And then it's like, I'm telling you, most of those people, I'll never get it. It was like, well, I did it. And then I was like, well, I'm going to go Biden. It's like, what? And so I say all that to say this. They know politically this time it's going to be a civil war with us within our own community. Black men are not. If a black man vote for Biden, like he's literally, I'm going to tell him, you're not black, you're not Freeman. I'm going to tell him like Biden said.
I'm having conversations with all types of people. That's like, I'm having conversations. I was in the mosque and I was having a conversation with somebody about this. And there was I don't know where he was from, but he was Middle Easterner, right? He owned like a wing and fish joint. And anyway, he was overhearing our conversation, and I was specifically talking about immigrants, right? And how, this country is being overrun with, not only illegal immigrants, but legal immigration as well. And when I got done talking, man, dude jumped in the conversation. He said, yeah, I'm voting for Trump, right? So I think a lot of people have had it up to here, right? I don't know who organized this sticker campaign they've been putting on all of the gas stations that say Biden did this, but a lot of people had it up to here with Biden, man. A lot of people. And what I mean is that I don't want us to be blamed unless we actually do the work. I want us to actually go out and make sure our percentage in support for President Biden drops this time. Because what he did, benign and neglect, through, after a pandemic happens, through inflation, right? And just leave us out there on the limb after you get in the office coming from last place saying Black America had my back and I'm going to have your back. And you still turn around and the first video you do with quote unquote Black token leaders is that you just go off on them and you take that same disdain and you put it into your policy. Like, no, we owe him a message this time.
Oh, we owe him say that again. We owe him a message. And I keep telling people that you have to understand this man literally tried to make us homeless if you have a home. He tried to make you starve if you're used to eating. He is like, we do not understand. Like, listen, I've been lucky enough to travel the world, right? And I'm about to go back to Europe in 2 weeks. And let me tell you something. No other place has this weird open borders policy. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense. And it's just like
brother in Toronto right now.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, his wife is a citizen of Canada. And they're saying, he can come and live there, but he can't work there. He can't work there.
In Toronto?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you why that happened, right? So, because one of my chicks is in Toronto, right? So what happened was about 10 years ago.
Just one of them?
One of them. So 10 years ago, right, you had an influx of Eastern Europeans, Russians, rich Russians, you had East Indians and Chinese people, right? And so this was when New York was still booming. But as New York was still booming, the cost of living was crazy. So anyone who understands that, they say, well, the closest thing to New York City without being New York City was Toronto. And because Toronto, and I'm telling you, your cousin tell you, Toronto was a safe haven for quality of life and still have a metropolis, right? And so these people came over there in hordes, bought up the houses, bought up the condos, and then all of a sudden, the average Torontonian couldn't afford to live in Toronto like you have right now, right? Like the chick I got over there, her mother left her $750,000. Her father left her $2 million. Well, he's gonna leave her because he's still alive. $2 million. If her family didn't leave her that money, you could cancel Christmas, right? Listen, like so what happens is, so for example, over there they got a new rule as well. If you're a foreigner, you can't buy a house for 5 years because they ran up the price of real estate astronomically because they had this gang of money, but they didn't want to put that gang of money into New York City because New York City would drain their money. So they went to Toronto, bought them beautiful brick homes and them wood homes and these high rises while it was still affordable. Now there's none of them left, right? And it became the playground of the super rich. And that's why they don't want people to work. And they definitely, you can't own no home because it's like, yo, we got to bring this back to normal. So yeah, it's crazy that, yo, man, like you said, they got to send a message, man.
Gas is not going back down ever again.
I'm about to like sum this up, but if you want, like, y'all want to give some final words, go ahead and go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, this is just indicative of the play that's always been going on. But again, I think they're trying to solidify a relationship between the different minority groups and Black women, and they want to use Black women as the mascot, and use some of our political power, capital, as they say, to lend towards these new illegal immigrants. I think that's partly what it's doing, and they're trying to make it okay. So it's like, okay, if Black women say it's okay, they're the most oppressed group. They're the moral compass of the nation. If they give blessing to these illegal immigrants stealing our homes, living in our schools, right, eating our food, so on and so forth, then the rest of America, particularly the Democrats and liberals, should be okay with it.
I just want to say that they understand that sector of our community has no political intelligence. They also understand that you play to their vanity, you got them. And what I mean by that is we had a pseudo organization that siphoned millions of dollars out of the community called Black Lives Matter. Some out of the white community, some out of the Black community. And you know what she did? Did she pay for any Black men's funeral? No. Did she pay for anybody's family who suffered through this calamity and all this catastrophe that was going on? People getting shot like we was playing Duck Hunt? No. But you know what she did? Bought houses. So that's why they're going to give $10 billion to them, even though they ain't going to give them a dime. But that's why they will sell it to them, because it's like, yeah, play to my vanity. It's yes, queen, yes, girl. That's what it is.
I think they got a spot in Canada too, bro.
Oh yeah.
Well, the initial funders were from Canada, if I'm not mistaken, right? So there you go.
I guess I would say, I follow Dr. Alexander Hamilton on Twitter, and one thing that he's been like really beating over the head on his social media is that there's certain things you can land and there's certain things that you can't land, and political capital is one of them things. If you loan it to somebody, they're never going to give it back, right? We can't be like this political embodiment of Adam 22, right, where he let somebody borrow his wife, right? I see that in our community, and if they're able to get a hold of like Black women, and Black women lends them the political capital, because the political capital that they are lending, this woman of color coalition is the political capital that our ancestors, put blood equity in this country for, right? And they owe us something for that. And if we lend this to this coalition called Women of Color, we're never going to get it back, right? We're never going to get it back. They're going to try to turn hands made tail until like this revisionist history story of how these women built America, and it was through the suffering of all women, right? And how America needs to rectify with that, while you still see black men on the front lines, right? Having the highest homeless rate, the highest unemployment, the highest incarceration rate, the lowest life expectancy rate. And they're going to be like, well, that was just done because, you know, individual choices. So I do think they're trying to get black women to, you know, take something that's a community asset, which is our political capital, our history, our legacy in this country, right? And they understand how powerful that is, right? How that narrative can change anything in America, and lend that to other groups. And if you lend that, that's it. That is it. So yeah, I appreciate you brothers for coming on. I do these shows, but I really like to do them with other people because I just hate like hearing my voice over and over and over. So I appreciate y'all for coming on. And yeah, I think we like really got into this, you know, not only this article but the strategy of gender wars and how to divide and conquer politically the American freedmen community. And I think we kind of, you know, segued into what that looks like for the future, and it doesn't look good. And I don't think in the end it doesn't elevate anybody's. But I appreciate y'all for joining. I appreciate everybody for listening in. And thanks. Please like, share, and subscribe, because I try to have these conversations in a real politically mature fashion so people can really understand, you know, what your positionality is in this country. But thanks everybody. Peace.
Peace.